Well, as I mentioned earlier today, leaders from both chambers of Congress, including House Speaker Mike Johnson, trekked to the White House for a sit-down with President Biden to discuss government funding as well as supplemental spending for Ukraine. Now, the meeting took place just days before Friday's deadline for a partial government shutdown, leaving many to ask, can Congress avoid a government shutdown? And will a continuing resolution emerge as the best spending stopgap measure? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Senator Rick Scott from Florida. He serves on 4 Senate committees, including the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs and the Senate Budget Committee. Senator Scott, welcome back to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Tony, it's always great to be with you. Being on budget, wouldn't you think we would do something about the budget?
Yes.
We don't.
Let's talk about that.
So here's the way it works up here. Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell decide, you know what, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to let you have amendment votes. We've decided we're not going to take it through a committee. We're not going to do any of that stuff. That'd be too much work. So what we're going to do is we're not going to have a budget. We're just going to, every so often, we'll have a deadline. We'll create an artificial deadline, and then we're going to cram down a big omnibus with lots of earmarks for our friends and family and all that stuff. And then if you don't vote for it, then you want to shut down government. So you're just a bad person because you hate government.
And it doesn't take too long, and then we have $34 trillion in debt as a result.
Shocking. I mean, think about it. McConnell and Schumer have been up here forever, right? I think when they came up here, the debt was less than $5 trillion. Now we have almost $35 trillion. We got high inflation. We're spending more in interest expense than we are on the defense budget. I mean, so this doesn't make any sense. But look, this is all orchestrated. And here's what they did. Take the supplemental, right? This so-called supplemental, which is going to do all these great things. Did they talk to the speaker about it? No, I think we have a majority in the House. Republicans have a majority in the House. So shouldn't we take their lead instead of taking Chuck Schumer's lead? But what Mitch McConnell's been doing is he's on Chuck Schumer's side. So he'll organize whatever votes it takes to do whatever Chuck Schumer wants to get done. And so that's how we get the debt, how we get no border security. Think about it. McConnell negotiated, 3 or 4 months without telling any of us anything about this unbelievable border bill, except that he left out one issue, the border security. No border security. You had a good immigration bill, maybe, had some good things in there about immigration, maybe even agree with some of those. But did it require the Biden administration to secure the border, which they could do today? Trump did it with the existing law. They could do it today. And Joe Biden won't do it. And this bill that Mitch McConnell negotiated with Chuck Schumer behind closed doors, which is how it works up here, when we said no way, then now we're the problem because we actually expect real border security and a president that's actually going to secure the border.
So, Senator Rick Scott, let me get this straight. All right, so our viewers and our listeners understand this. We have 100 members of the United States Senate, 2 from each state. And that's really the serious chamber. I mean, they're supposed to do the hard work, and that's where everybody kind of talks and works through these issues, theoretically. And so you're telling me.
Sounds good, Tony. That sounds like a really
well. I read that in the book back when I was in high school. So, but let's talk about the budget process. So there's committees that work through these things. They get they have oversight of these various agencies to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so they collaborate. They get together, and they're supposed to come up with budget numbers. But what you're telling me is that you have 2 guys. The Chuck Schumer, who is the majority leader, slim majority, and Senator McConnell, who's supposed to be representing the Republicans, get together and just cut out all the other senators, which is not only should be offensive to you, but that's offensive to all the people of Florida who elected you to come up and represent them.
Right. So do I get an amendment vote? Oh, no, we don't even vote on it. All we have is those 2 guys come up with a big spending bill, not even what came out of Appropriations Committee. But what we should do is, that's great, we have an Appropriations Committee. Let's vote on what they came up and let all of us propose our amendments. If I can't talk a majority of the Republicans or Democrats together into my amendment, it's my fault. But not giving me an opportunity to do that, and I just have to vote yes or down, but we don't even do that.
That's crazy.
We don't even take that bill.
I mean, that is not the way government is supposed to work. Even state legislatures work that way, where there's collaborative efforts and you people have the opportunity to represent their constituents on this. So let me jump to the bottom line here, Senator Scott. The House, and I've had multiple conversations with the Speaker. I mean, they are dug in on the border. I mean, I do not think that you're going to get a bill through there unless the border issue is dealt with. And it doesn't sound like there's the will among Senate leaders to do that. Are we headed for a government shutdown?
If we have a government shutdown, you can look at two people and say they caused it: Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell, right? Because they don't care about it. I mean, now you heard what Mitch McConnell said, oh, just pass the supplemental.
Right.
Nothing about border security. If you go do a poll and ask Americans, what do they care about? They want a secure border. They're tired of the drugs coming in. They're tired of the criminals, the terrorists, the human traffickers. They don't want any of that.
Upper 70% of Americans want that issue addressed.
Right. And so, but not up here. It's like we should represent the people of my state. So I represent Florida. I go all around my state and ask people what they care about. You know what they care about? Number one issue, border security.
Yeah.
Number one, by far, border security. It's even higher than inflation. And so, but do I even have an opportunity to come up with my bill to do it? No.
You don't even have a chance to have a vote on an amendment to a bill. You either take it or leave it as they lay it out there before you. And the only way, probably the only way that we can get some attention on this is if Republicans, conservative Republicans in the House, draw a line and say we're not going any further. And if it results in a government shutdown, maybe we could see some movement on this.
If there is, now I don't know anybody wants to.
No, I get that. I get that.
You look at Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell, they made that decision. They made the decision that they didn't care about the biggest issue in this country. They're hell-bent on giving money to Ukraine with no accountability, right, about the border security. Right. We're going to secure their border, but not ours.
But and I'm not advocating for a government shutdown. I don't think that's good. But I'm just saying if that's the only option that conservatives have to bring attention to this out of control, dysfunctional government, then that's what we're left with.
That's it. I mean, it makes you so mad. Who wants government to shut down? I don't know any Republican that does. But you know what? We want our government to work. Do their job, secure our border, keep us safe. It's a clear and present danger. Ron Johnson has been an unbelievable leader. He ran Homeland Security. He knows the issue. He fights it every day. We need to listen to him. This is a clear and present danger to every one of us and our families. You
know, sometimes, Senator, as you know, it takes tough love. And you got to make tough decisions to get people to pay attention to what's going on. And I think, you know, we've just kind of gone along with this for years. Maybe it's time a little bit of tough love from conservatives. Senator, we're out of time. Always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us and for being in the fight.